I want you to imagine a sensation you've likely felt 1,000 times, the simple, unremarkable feeling of your feet touching the floor as you get out of bed. For most, it is a signal of stability. But for some of you, that signal is beginning to flicker. It starts as a whisper of faint tingling, a phantom itch, or perhaps a patch of skin that feels like it's draped in thin plastic wrap. You ignore it because you can still walk, still work, still live. But in my 45 years of clinical practice, I have learned that the body never forgets a debt. It whispers before it screams, and right now, your nerves are trying to tell you that they are starving. We often worry about the burning and the sharp, electric stabs that keep us awake at night, but there is an invisible sign, a silent shift in the temperature of your extremities that is far more dangerous than the pain itself. It is a harbinger of a structural collapse that can steal your independence before you even realize the foundation is rotting. Today, I am going to show you how a single 5-minute bedtime habit involving a specific type of ancient oil can do more than just soothe the surface. It targets the very gatekeepers of your spinal cord to silence the static. If you don't address this now, you may find yourself facing the ultimate retirement tragedy, spending the wealth you spent 40 years accumulating just to buy back a fraction of the health that was stolen by a few years of quiet negligence. Hello, and welcome back to the Senior Health Doctor. In today's video, we will cover stopping the invisible fire in your feet using targeted nerve stimulation. Before we start, if you enjoy our content, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I'd also love to hear from you. Drop a comment below telling me your age and which city or country you are watching from. To understand why your feet are beginning to fail you, we must look beneath the skin at a mechanical error so small it is measured in microns. Your nerves are not just wires, they are living, breathing organs. Specifically, the long nerves that travel from your lower spine all the way to your big toe are the longest cells in your entire body. Because of their sheer length, they are incredibly demanding. They require a constant, uninterrupted supply of oxygen and nutrients. The supply is delivered by a specialized network of microscopic blood vessels, called the vasa nervorum, literally, the vessels of the nerves. The first link in the chain of decay begins when these tiny vessels are compromised, whether through chronic elevation in blood glucose, which turns the blood into a thick, abrasive sludge, or through mechanical compression within the tight tunnels of the ankle. The vasa nervorum begin to constrict. This is the onset of ischemia state where the nerve is being slowly suffocated. When a nerve is deprived of oxygen, it enters a state of cellular stress. The mitochondria, the power plants within the nerve cell, begin to fail. They can no longer produce the energy required to maintain the delicate electrical balance of the cell membrane. This triggers a localized chemical crisis. As the cell struggles to survive without oxygen, it shifts to anaerobic metabolism, leading to a buildup of lactic acid and a drop in pH. This acidic environment is toxic. It irritates the nerve endings and triggers the release of pro-inflammatory proteins, called cytokines. These chemicals act like gasoline on a fire, sensitizing the nerve and causing it to fire off random, frantic signals to the brain. This is the static you feel as tingling or burning. It is the sound of a dying cell crying out for help. As this inflammatory environment persists, we see the third stage of collapse, the breakdown of the myelin sheath. Imagine the insulation on a copper wire beginning to fray and melt. In your body, this insulation is made of fats and proteins that allow electrical signals to travel at lightning speed. When the surrounding chemical environment becomes acidic and inflamed, the body's own immune cells may begin to clear away this damaged insulation. Now, the electrical signal doesn't just travel down the wire, it leaks. It jumps to neighboring nerves. This is why a simple touch of a bedsheet can suddenly feel like a hot iron. The nerve is no longer a precision instrument. It is a live wire sparking in the dark. This process leads directly to a state of perfusion compromise. Because the nerves are inflamed, they swell. But nerves often pass through narrow openings in bone and ligament, such as the tarsal tunnel in your ankle. A swollen nerve in a tight tunnel creates a feedback loop of pressure. The more it swells, the more it pinches its own blood supply. This is why you might notice that your feet feel strangely cold to the touch, even when they feel like they are burning on the inside. That coldness is the invisible sign I mentioned earlier. It is the evidence that the microcirculation has retreated, leaving the nerve fibers in a state of advanced starvation. When the blood stops flowing, the nerve doesn't just misfire, it begins to retract. If this cycle is not interrupted, we reach the final structural and functional collapse. The nerve fibers begin to undergo what we call Wallerian degeneration. The distant ends of the nerve, the ones responsible for telling your brain exactly where your feet are in space, begin to wither away. This is the loss of proprioception. Without these signals, your brain loses its map of the floor. You begin to shuffle. You lose your balance on uneven ground. You are no longer standing on solid earth. You are floating on a cloud of numbness that can lead to a catastrophic fall. This is the true consequence of the chain of decay, a transition from a life of movement to a life of confinement. Remember, the absence of pain is not health often. The disappearance of pain is merely the sign that the nerve has finally lost the strength to scream. To prevent this functional battery from hitting zero, we must address the mechanical and chemical environment surrounding these fibers. We need to find a way to bypass the damaged signals and force the blood back into those starving vessels. There is a specific biological mechanism we can exploit, a way to trick the nervous system into turning down its own volume while we work to restore the internal plumbing. It starts with understanding how the brain prioritizes different types of touch, and it leads us to a simple ritual that can change the trajectory of your mobility. I remember a patient of mine named Edward, a retired carpenter who thought he had simply worn his body out until the day he couldn't feel the pedals of his own car. Edward was a man who defined himself by the calluses on his hands and the miles. He had walked on sawdust-covered floors. When he first sat in my examination room, he didn't complain of pain. He complained of a ghostly sensation. He told me, with a hollow look in his eyes, that he felt as though he were walking on thick layers of cotton wool or through knee-deep water. This is the retirement tragedy in its most clinical, cruel form. Edward had spent 40 years saving for a motor home to travel the coastline, only to find that he could no longer trust his own feet to find the brake pedal. He was a prisoner of his own sensory silence. Upon examination, his feet were ice cold, the invisible sign I warned you about. The skin was shiny and hairless, a clear indication that the microvasculature, the asterisk vasa nervorum asterisk, had effectively shuttered its doors. In another case, I treated a woman named Clara, a former school teacher. Her experience was the polar opposite of Edward's silence. Her nerves were screaming. To her, the touch of a silk pajama pant felt like a serrated blade. She had developed what we call allodynia, where the brain misinterprets harmless tactile input as agonizing trauma. Her functional reserve was spent. She was exhausted, her nervous system stuck in a state of high-voltage neuroinflammation, her spinal cord's dorsal horn overwhelmed by static signals. Both Edward and Clara were victims of the same chain of decay, just at different stages of the collapse. They were both looking for a miracle, but I told them we didn't need a miracle. We needed to restore the biological commerce of their extremities. The protocol I began with them and the one I want to share with you is not a cure-all, but a method of metabolic and mechanical rescue. It centers around the one habit, a 5-minute bedtime ritual using an oil that history has, called ancient, but science calls a potent anti-inflammatory. We used cold-pressed castor oil. The secret lies in the ricinoleic acid. Chemically, this fatty acid is a marvel. It has a unique molecular weight that allows it to bypass the stratum corneum, the tough outer layer of your skin, more effectively than most synthetic lotions. Once it penetrates, it acts as a localized ligand, potentially binding to receptors that reduce the production of substance P, the very chemical that carries pain signals to your brain. But the oil is only the vehicle. The ritual itself is the engine. To perform this correctly, you must first prepare the vessel. You begin by warming the feet, not with scalding water, which a neuropathic foot may not feel until it is blistered, but with gentle friction or a lukewarm wrap. This induces a preliminary vasodilation. Once the skin is supple, you apply the castor oil, but you do not merely rub it on. You use a technique called petrissage, a deep, rhythmic kneading. Step 1. Start at the base of the toes and work toward the heel. You are manually mimicking the action of a pump. By applying pressure, you are forcing stagnant, deoxygenated blood and metabolic waste out of the interstitial spaces and back into the venous system. This clears the acidic swamp surrounding the nerve fibers. Step 2. Focus on the medial malleolus, that bony bump on the inside of your ankle. Beneath this lies the tarsal tunnel. You must use your thumb to perform gentle, circular decompressions here. This is where the nerve is most often asphyxiated by tight ligaments. By mobilizing the soft tissue here, you are providing a mechanical breath of air to the nerve. Step 3. Use the gate control technique. As you massage, you are stimulating the large diameter of beta nerve fibers. These fibers carry the sensation of touch and pressure. They travel faster than the thin, slow C fibers that carry pain. When you flood the spinal cord with these fast touch signals, you effectively close the gate on the pain signals. It is the biological equivalent of a busy switchboard operator hanging up on a nuisance caller so the important information can get through. Step 4. The bedtime wrap. After the massage, Clara and Edward would don clean, thick cotton socks. This retains the body's natural infrared heat, which further enhances the penetration of the ricinoleic acid and keeps the microvessels dilated throughout the night. This prevents the nocturnal ischemia, the nighttime oxygen drop, that causes so many of you to wake up at 3 a.m. with feet that feel like they are being electrocuted. For Edward, it took 3 weeks before the cotton wool began to thin. For Clara, it took 10 days before she could sleep without a cage over her feet to keep the blankets off. They weren't just applying oil. They were rebuilding the microenvironment of their nervous system, one night at a time. They were refusing to let the flame of their mobility be extinguished by negligence. However, as we look at these successes, we must also confront the difficult questions that arise when the damage has moved beyond the periphery and into the very architecture of the spine and brain. In the quiet hours after a consultation, many patients like you ask the same questions, seeking a foothold in the slippery slope of sensory loss. You ask me if a better mattress or a different sleeping position can save your nerves. While spinal alignment is crucial to prevent secondary compression of the sciatic root, no mattress can fix the chemical suffocation of the vasa nervorum. If your blood is thick with glucose or your vessels are narrowed by decades of systemic inflammation, the most expensive bed in the world is merely a comfortable place to watch your health vanish. Others ask if the damage is permanent. I tell them that nerves are like ancient trees. They grow back at a pace of perhaps 1 millimeter a day, provided the soil is nutrient-rich and the water is clean. If you provide the circulation and the metabolic support, the body's capacity for repair is remarkable. But if the stump of the nerve has withered entirely into scar tissue, the silence becomes final. You may also wonder if moving your legs at night, that restless, agonizing twitching, is a sign of life. In reality, it is often a starvation twitch. Your brain is frantically signaling the muscles to contract in a desperate, involuntary attempt to pump blood down to the dying extremities. It is a distress signal, not a sign of recovery. Using the bedtime oil ritual and the mechanical decompression I've described is about quieting that distress signal by actually delivering the cargo of oxygen the nerves are begging for. Now, I must speak to you with the gravity that 45 years at the bedside has earned me. This is education and health, and not a substitute for a medical consultation. If you are living with diagnosed diseases, if you are using prescription blood thinners or insulin, if you are pregnant, or if you are noticing symptoms that frighten you, you must seek a professional. If you notice a sudden drop foot where you cannot lift your toes, or if the numbness is rapidly climbing toward your knees, do not wait for a video to save you. These are red flags of an acute neurological crisis that requires immediate intervention. Do not be the person who waits until the invisible fire has consumed the entire building before calling for help. Do not be the retiree who sits in a beautiful home they can no longer walk through, mourning the days when the whisper of a tingle was ignored. The One Habit is about more than just oil and skin. It is about reclaiming the functional reserve of your body while there is still a foundation to build upon. Your health is a battery that does not recharge itself without your conscious daily intervention. Look at your feet tonight. Feel the temperature of your skin. If they are cold, if they are silent, if they are sparking with the static of decay, start tonight. The tragedy isn't that we age. The tragedy is that we allow ourselves to be stolen away in small, unnoticed increments until there is nothing left to defend. Don't wait to lose your health to realize its value.